The house had settled into that deep, comforting stillness that only comes after midnight, when the world outside seems to pause. The homeowner had been halfway through a late movie, drifting toward sleep, when a strange sound scraped through the quiet, a gritty crunch, like tires rolling slowly over loose gravel. At first, they thought it might just be a neighbor returning home late, but the noise didn't pass by. It lingered. Then came the soft thump of a car door shutting, too controlled and deliberate to be accidental. Curiosity prickled the back of their neck. They muted the TV and moved toward the window, careful not to step on the loose floorboard that always squeaked. Through the blinds, a pair of headlights cut harsh, wandering beams across the front yard, sweeping back and forth as if searching for something. The homeowner frowned. No one visiting should be creeping around like that. Two figures emerged from the shadows, wearing reflective vests that glowed faintly under the street lamp. But something felt off immediately. The vests were mismatched, dirty, the type you'd buy cheap at a hardware store rather than receive from an organization. One man held a flashlight, angling it toward the house, tracing it up the siding, over porch posts, and even into the flower beds. The other rattled the latch on the side gate, testing it like he expected it to open. The homeowner's pulse quickened. The legitimate HOA security team wore uniforms and arrived in marked vehicles, neither of which were present. These men moved with the quiet, probing confidence of people who weren't worried about being seen, because they thought the homeowner was asleep. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The flashlight beam suddenly passed straight across the living room window, lingering a second too long. That's when the homeowner knew these men weren't supposed to be here. The moment the flashlight beam skimmed across the living room window, the homeowner stepped back from the blinds, heart thudding with a sharp, rhythmic insistence. This wasn't curiosity anymore, this was instinct. The kind of instinct that tightened the throat and whispered that something dangerous had crossed onto the property. Moving with deliberate care, they crossed the small hallway toward the bedroom, where the heavy safe sat tucked into the corner like a silent guardian. Their fingers hesitated for only a heartbeat above the keypad before punching in the combination. The soft click of the lock releasing was oddly loud in the dead of night stillness. Inside, nestled against the padded interior, lay the shotgun, a tool they rarely touched, but had never regretted owning. They lifted it carefully, checking the chamber the way they'd been trained years ago. Everything was as it should be. No panic, no fumbling. Just preparation. They weren't stepping outside, weren't chasing anyone down. But if two unknown men were creeping around the property after midnight, pretending to be HOA patrol, the homeowner wasn't about to stand unarmed behind nothing but a thin wooden door. With the shotgun held low and safe, they returned to the front of the house. One of the men had moved onto the porch now, the boards creaked under his weight. His flashlight beam sliced across the windows again, this time illuminating the family photos on the wall as if he were cataloging what was inside. The homeowner flipped on the porch light with a decisive click. The sudden brightness shocked the trespassers, freezing them mid-movement. Taking a steadying breath, the homeowner stepped into view behind the locked door. "Identify yourselves," they said loudly, firmly. "You're on private property. State your purpose or leave." The trespassers didn't answer, only stared, caught, startled, and suddenly unsure. That was all the confirmation the homeowner needed. These men had absolutely no right. The two men didn't seem to know what to do now that the porch light exposed them so clearly. For a few long seconds, they stood frozen like raccoons caught elbow-deep in a trash can. The taller one squinted toward the door, lifting a hand to shield his eyes from the sudden brightness. The shorter one shifted his weight uncomfortably, his boots scraping against the wooden step. I told you someone was awake," the short one hissed under his breath, but the porch was quiet enough that the homeowner heard it anyway. The tall man cleared his throat. "We're, with HOA security. Just doing a routine check." He said it like he had invented the excuse only half a second before speaking. His vest, crooked and smeared with dirt, didn't help his case. Neither did the unmarked sedan idling crookedly at the curb. "A routine check at midnight," the homeowner shot back, voice steady. HOA security wears uniforms. And their vehicles are marked. Try again. The shorter man nudged his partner, panic flickering across his face. Let's just go, he muttered urgently. This is the wrong house. The tall one ignored him, forcing out another excuse. We got a complaint. Noise. Or, a violation. His words stumbled over themselves. The whole act was unraveling. Inside the house, the homeowner kept their stance clear and unmistakably defensive, but still inside, still behind the locked door, exactly where they should be. They made no threats. Just held position, calm and resolute. I've already called the police, the homeowner said firmly. They're on the way. That single sentence shattered whatever flimsy courage the fake patrol had left. Both men stiffened, their eyes darting to the street as if calculating whether they could make it to their car before the flashing lights arrived. The shorter one whispered, voice strained, we need to leave. Now. But it was already too late. The distant wail of sirens had begun. The sirens grew louder, fast. The trespassers stiffened like animals sensing a trap closing. The tall one muttered something sharp under his breath, scanning the street for an escape route. But the homeowner had made that impossible long before the men ever set foot on the porch. When calling 911, they'd made it clear, 2 unknown individuals on the property, claiming to be HOA patrol. Dispatch hadn't wasted time. Moments later, the flashing blue and red lights splashed across the neighborhood, casting jittery shadows across the houses. A patrol car surged around the corner, then another. Both vehicles boxed in the unmarked sedan at the curb with the effortless precision of officers who had done this dance many times before. The men on the porch panicked. The short one bolted down the steps, hands raised, babbling, "It's a misunderstanding. We were just checking something, just looking for the right address." But he didn't even believe himself, the desperation cracked through his words. The tall trespasser stayed frozen for a second too long before trying to follow, but the officers were already out of their vehicles, commanding firm, clear orders that cut through the night, "Stop. Hands where we can see them." The men complied, quickly. Their false bravado evaporated into the cold air. Behind the locked door, the homeowner set the shotgun safely aside and stepped back from the entryway, taking a slow, steadying breath. They kept their hands visible when an officer approached the porch to confirm the call, speaking calmly through the door. No drama. No escalation. Just cooperation. Outside, the officers were already separating the 2 intruders, questioning them individually. It didn't take long for the truth to unravel, their conflicting stories, their inability to name an HOA supervisor, and the suspicious tools found in their car. The homeowner watched through the window as the situation shifted decisively. Whatever these men had planned, it was over now. And the night air seemed to hold its breath as officers dug deeper into the trespasser's story, or rather, into the tangled mess of lies the 2 men kept offering. The homeowner watched from inside while officers searched the unmarked sedan parked at the curb. The trunk popped open with a metallic clunk, revealing a scattered collection of items that didn't look anything like official equipment: bolt cutters, pry bars, cheap walkie-talkies, and a roll of duct tape. Not exactly the tools of a legitimate HOA patrol. One officer held up the bolt cutters and gave the taller man a hard stare. "You want to explain why you need these to check for neighborhood violations?" The man's shoulders sagged in defeat. The short one looked like he was close to tears. Whatever they had been pretending to be, the facade was crumbling quickly. Within minutes, the handcuffs clicked into place. Both men were led toward the squad car, their earlier confidence gone completely. The homeowner stepped outside only when invited by an officer, keeping hands visible, calm, respectful. The officers assured them they had done everything right: stay inside, stay armed only as a precaution, avoid confrontation, and call 911 immediately. As the situation wrapped up, another familiar car pulled onto the street, the HOA presidents. She'd been contacted by police to verify whether these men were associated with the organization. She stepped out of her vehicle still in a bathrobe, her expression a mix of confusion and irritation. "I've never seen those men in my life," she told the officers, shaking her head firmly. "We don't even have patrols at this hour. And we certainly don't hire anyone who works out of an unmarked car." That was the final confirmation. The trespassers were driven away, their sedan towed behind a flatbed truck. Quiet slowly returned to the neighborhood. Standing on the porch, the homeowner exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. The danger was gone. The answers were